heading off by carriage to make her report. Even while still recovering, she knows this news has to reach the Saintess as soon as possible. But one question keeps bothering her the whole way. Why did the sun god say nothing at all about that barbarian? While Aquas wrestles with that, someone else is having a very different day. Swordmaster Cain walks through the palace with a heavy sigh. He mutters that meeting the Emperor is exhausting. Then a smooth voice behind him says he looks like he's having a hard time. Cain turns and sees a man with long dark hair and a striking presence. This isn't just anyone. It's the great master of the magic tower, the man at the top of the magic world. With a smirk, the master asks what brought Cain here. Cain tosses the question back at him. The master says it's only a routine visit, while Cain explains he came to report on his latest mission. That catches the master's interest. He brings up the recon trip to the Demon Realm's Forest of Silence and asks how it went. Cain's face darkens immediately. He says it went against everything they knew and calls the place terrifying. In that forest there was no sound at all, and even his detection magic was useless. No matter how loud he shouted, there was nothing back. No sound, no echo, just silence. His soldiers disappeared one after another, and all Cain can call it is deeply awful. Back in the present, he wonders why the Emperor is so set on conquering the demon realm, then decides powerful people are just crazy. The master only smiles, admitting the demon realm interests him too. Cain wants no part of that and says he'd rather stay ordinary. With a snap, the master traps them inside a huge magic circle. So much for ordinary. Cain stares in shock at the spatial magic and asks what this is about. The master walks closer and says there's no need to hide it anymore. Then he asks if Cain met someone very special, and Cain knows he's been found out. He realizes right away that someone was spying on him. The eye of observation? When did you put that on me? The master casually says it's just a hobby, which only makes Cain more annoyed. Then the master gets to the point. He wants to know what Cain thinks of the barbarian from the White Snowfield. Cain answers carefully, saying he still isn't sure what to think of him, so the master lays it out. A barbarian from the demon realm who beat a swordmaster and the Lich Kardos. That makes the answer seem obvious. Cain is shocked to hear that. He didn't know Kardos had been defeated, and the master is surprised by that too. He explains that it isn't public yet, but rumors about Kardos failing his resurrection are already moving through the magic tower. Then comes the real reveal. The master says he's a lich as well, and even went to pay respects to his fallen friend. Cain barely reacts, only asking if a lich can even feel sad. The master insists that even someone as old as him values friendship. Then he adds that Kardos' most precious artifact was never found. He says he has no idea where it went. Leaving that aside, he asks Cain the real question. Does he truly believe that Barbarian defeated Kardos? Cain thinks for a moment and says it's possible. The Lich Master notes Cain still hasn't told the Emperor, and Cain immediately rejects that idea. He calls the Emperor a madman and fears that if he learns about Kettle, a massive war will follow. A barbarian like that clashing with a controlling Emperor could tear the whole empire apart. The Lich Master finds that possibility exciting. He asks if Cain really thinks that Barbarian could face the whole empire alone. Cain isn't sure, but says the feeling he got was similar to the one he had when he first met the Master. That makes the Lich Master's eye glow. Are you saying he's hero class? Cain says he can't judge that for sure, but the Lich Master already seems convinced that Kettle is extremely valuable, and that expression on his face worries Cain. Meanwhile, the man they're talking about is walking through the market in new adventurer gear. A woman suddenly trips and Kettle catches her before she hits the ground. He smiles and asks if she's okay and tells her to be more careful. The woman just stares at him for a moment. Kettle assumes he scared her again. Instead, she bows, thanks him, and calmly leaves. No screaming, no running. Kettle is completely confused. He's never had a normal interaction like this before. Then another villager passes by him without panic, and Kettle's brain nearly shuts down. He's completely stunned, with one thought stuck in his head: why aren't people avoiding him anymore? A little later, Kettle sits down for tea with Lord Barkin in his fancy office. Barkin asks if he's okay after almost getting marked by a demon. Kettle brushes it off. To him, it's no problem. He doesn't even know what a brand is. That leaves Barkin speechless. He knew Kettle was strong, but not this clueless. Kettle mentions that something around him has changed. Barkin asks if he means the people. Kettle nods. The people in this territory. With a sigh, Barkin tells him it's because of the rumors. Every guard and mercenary who lived through the attack has been spreading the same story. According to them, after Aquas was defeated, everyone else dropped, everyone except Kettle. And when they came to, his axe was glowing with holy power. Now the whole town believes Aquas blessed him, and they call him the hero who fought the demon beside her. At last Kettle gets it, so that's what happened. Barkin apologizes, saying the tale had already grown into a legend before he could correct it. Kettle finally connects it all. That's why nobody runs from him now. Barkin agrees. People don't see him as a monster anymore. Now they call him the demon opponent. Kettle turns the new title over in his head. Demon opponent, huh? So this is what having a reputation feels like. At the Mercenary Guild, Rosa greets Kettle with big news. He's been promoted to C rank. Kettle can hardly believe it. C rank? He jumped up 3 whole ranks, and Rosa says he earned it. A slow grin spreads across his face. Rosa adds that his badge is being remade, though the custom work will take some time. That gets him even more excited. A custom badge just for him? Rosa confirms it. Starting at C rank, you're recognized as a real guild mercenary. She says this rank lets him take jobs in almost any major city, and even enter most churches, just not the imperial capital. Kettle comments that the empire sounds strict. Rosa agrees. Only people approved by nobles can enter. Then she lowers her voice and admits nobody really knows what's inside. People only hear creepy rumors. Less is known about it than the demon realm. Kettle looks worried. It's that bad? Rosa clears her throat and moves back to business. As a C rank, she explains, he can now accept almost any request. He can even go into A rank dungeons if he's with a party, and Kettle instantly starts thinking about the rewards. The idea of better loot and bigger adventures brings out his usual smirk. Elsewhere, Alessandro nearly spits out his drink in shock. He can't believe all that really happened. When he asks if everything's fine now, Kettle says the demon is gone. The Inquisitor approved it, and that should settle things. The cleric Hayes lets out a relieved sigh while sitting with them and their other teammate Kessin. Kessin gushes about how amazing the Inquisitor was, but Hayes suddenly slams the table and yells, "Here's the thing. Hayes never actually passed out during the fight. She saw the whole battle, and Kettle completely crushed that demon. Aquas only showed up at the end and took credit for a fight that was already over." Trying to move things along, Kessin asks what Kettle plans to do now that he's a C-rank star. Kettle answers like it's nothing. He'll keep doing the same work, just as a C-rank now. Kessin is blown away by that calm answer, and thinks it's the coolest thing ever. Hayes, meanwhile, is panicking inside. Don't be fooled, she thinks that thing is not human. Kettle then asks what the rest of them plan to do. Kessin shrugs. As Feyar ranks, there isn't much they can do yet. He admits his old life goal was basically to mooch off others until he died, but now he wants to really live, like Kettle. Alessandro immediately calls him a bum for only deciding that now. While those two start arguing, Kettle turns to Hayes and asks about her plans. Flustered, she says she'll simply follow her goddess's will. That reminds Kettle of something Aquas said, and the second he brings up Aquas, Hayes freezes. Kettle recalls hearing that most servants of Colossia are taking a break, and only the higher-ups are still working. Hayes starts sweating hard. What? She quickly denies it all and insists Aquas must have been wrong. Kettle calmly accepts the obvious lie. Inside, though, Hayes is freaking out. She's sure he knows everything and can't tell if he's waiting for a confession or just toying with her. By then, she's completely terrified of him. Much later that night, back at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa is packing up her things, ready to head home. Then the door creaks open. The second she sees a worn-out pair of boots step in, her good mood dies. "You've got to be kidding me." A hooded old man says he has a request, and Rosa has only one thought, overtime. Hiding her annoyance, she asks what kind of job he wants. The man clears his throat and says he needs an escort for 2 people, himself and a young girl. Rosa starts writing it down. 2 people, and where to? He answers, the capital of the kingdom of Dayan Teveharian. Rosa is stunned. An escort request all the way to Dayan Teveharian's capital from a remote town like this is crazy. Her suspicion kicks in fast. He talks like a noble, dresses in rags, and hides who he is. Still, she agrees to take the request for now, but first she asks for identification. The old man calmly slides a metal token across the table. Rosa's eyes go wide. It's a mercenary guild token. Something hard to get, like a VIP pass. After confirming it, she gets straight to work. Next comes the fee. The old man reaches into his cloak and pulls out a single gold coin. Rosa looks at the coin, then at him. For that amount, they can provide one person. The old man is shocked. Only one? Rosa explains this is a dangerous month-long escort job all the way to Diantavarian. He begs for at least 2 guards, and Rosa sighs, saying she might scrape together cheaper options. But a dependable escort should be at least D rank. He insists he needs someone capable, and Rosa stays firm. For that price he gets 1 skilled mercenary. No more. Her patience is running thin. Why is this man so desperate? Still, she gives a little ground. Jobs from a far-off town like this are hard to fill anyway. In the end, she agrees to try, but after he leaves, she notices the gold coin was filed down to hide where it came from. This is definitely trouble. Later that night, the old man knocks on a door. A woman asks who's there, and he answers, "Your loyal retainer." So that's the kind of situation this is. The door opens, and a blonde woman named Elaine greets the old man, Aaron, and lets him in. She nervously asks how it went, and Aaron tells her the guild accepted the request for now. She's relieved, but then asks the big question. How many mercenaries? Aaron can't meet her eyes. Just 1. Elaine goes silent. Aaron apologizes, explaining they don't have the money. Elaine says it can't be helped, and Aaron starts blaming himself for being scammed on the road. They try to comfort each other, but both of them are miserable. Before long, they break down crying together. Then someone suddenly tells them to be quiet. Poor kids. Elaine asks how long it will take to find someone, but Aaron doesn't know. Worn out, she says they should sleep on it. That's all they can do for now. Aaron bows, still full of shame. Another night passes in worry as their food keeps running low. Aaron blames himself, but Elaine stops him and says none of this is his fault. Aaron says they can't tell the local lord what's going on, and Elaine agrees. Even paying for 1 bodyguard is already pushing their limit. Then she reminds him why they ran from their kingdom in the first place. They were surrounded by enemies and couldn't tell ally from foe. Aaron apologizes again for not being stronger. Elaine asks if Diantavarian is truly safe, and he says yes. He explains that Diantavarian's king swore to protect her, though helping them could also make that kingdom a target. Then he says it plainly. She has to live, Elaine Mavrossi. She's a princess in hiding, and if she falls, their kingdom is done. Even so, the princess still worries. Can they really trust a mercenary? Aaron takes her hands and promises their gold will buy someone reliable. So who will guard her? A blush rises as she pictures a handsome, charming hero. Poor girl, she has no idea what's coming. Meanwhile, that hero is just Kettle lying on his bed, bored out of his mind. He starts thinking about his old companions in the white snowfield. They were the only ones who never kept their distance from him. With a sigh, he figures they're still out there living their usual dumb lives. Then a thought hits him. Maybe his quest is over. The system window that followed him into this fantasy world is gone. He remembers the first mission, survive 1 week in that frozen nightmare. Back then, that blue window was his only guide and only company. But once he escaped the snowfield, the quest stopped. Now that life is calm, he's getting restless. He suddenly sits up as a new idea hits him. Wait, was the system only meant for the white snowfield? Looking into the night, he decides it doesn't matter. Thanks for everything, system window. From here on, I'll enjoy this world my way. The next day, Kettle returns to the guild in his new gear, where Rosa has a job waiting for him, an escort request. Rosa can barely hide how relieved she is that someone finally took this shady job. So Kettle asks what makes it so special. Rosa explains it's a D-rank escort. 1 young woman and an old man need to reach the capital of Diantavarian. On paper it sounds simple. Kettle doesn't look impressed, and Rosa warns him the trip is long. He'll also have to handle everything himself. That sounds annoying, but the reward is surprisingly good, which usually means there's a problem. The way Rosa says it makes that pretty obvious. With a serious look, she tells him straight up, the request feels wrong. If he wants to refuse, that's fine. But Kettle just breaks into a huge smile. To him, that's exactly why the job sounds interesting. Rosa is completely lost. She really does not understand how his mind works. Kettle looks back at the request form. The name Diantavarian catches his attention. Then it clicks. He remembers Molina Akasha, the noble woman he saved in the snowfield. She told him to visit if he ever came to her kingdom, and even gave him her family crest. Grinning, he slaps the table and accepts on the spot. The second he does, something flashes at the edge of his vision, and suddenly the blue system window appears again. It finally came back, this time with a new quest: escort the clients to Dayan Tavarian. Kettle is stunned. Why did it return now? Rosa can't see any of it. All she sees is him staring into nothing, so she asks if he's okay. Somewhere else in town, an old man named Aaron rushes inside to find a young woman. Elaine panics at first, thinking their enemies found them, but Aaron brings good news. The only C-rank mercenary around accepted their request. Hope lights up Elaine's face. A C-rank. Aaron says they'll meet him tomorrow. Back with Kettle, he's still trying to make sense of the system window's return. Alone in his room, he wonders why the quest stopped after he left the demon realm, only to start again now. Maybe the system was never just tied to the white snowfield, or maybe something much bigger is going on. The next day, a storm hits, while Elaine and Aaron head to the guild to meet their escort. Elaine nervously wonders what he'll be like. In her head, he's a handsome, battle-tested hero with scars and a cool presence. Whatever the case, she's sure he'll be impressive. Then the door opens. Rosa greets the newcomer, and Elaine looks up, waiting for her hero. That dream dies instantly. In the doorway stands not a charming protector, but a giant, terrifying figure with glowing white eyes. Kettle calmly introduces himself, and Elaine freezes in fear. The shock is too much. She faints on the spot, and Aaron barely catches her. He glares at Kettle and demands to know who he is. Kettle actually finds it a little funny. It's been a while since anyone here reacted to him like that. He'd almost gotten used to being treated like a hero. Aaron turns to Rosa in a panic, asking if this is really their escort. Rosa says yes, and starts the introduction. She presents him as the one assigned to guard them, Barbarian Kettle Nim. Aaron is horrified. A barbarian? He immediately asks for someone else. Rosa's face goes cold. So now he's questioning the guild's judgment? Aaron quickly tries to backpedal, but Rosa cuts him off. If he doesn't trust the guild, the contract is over. While they argue, Keto lets out a tired sigh. This is a mess. Then a voice cuts through it. She'll accept. Elaine is awake again and taking charge. Aaron tries to stop her, but her mind is made up. She reaches out to Keto and introduces herself as Elaine. That awkward handshake seals it. The trip begins with Keto in front. His clients, though, keep a huge distance behind him. Eventually, Keto stops and turns around. He asks if they're staying a little too far back. For their own safety, they should probably stay closer. Instead, both of them wave frantically and insist they're fine. Since no one's around, this distance works great. Keto just shrugs. If they want to act weird, that's on them. So he turns back around and keeps moving. Elaine watches him and wonders how things got this bad. Her thoughts drift back to the guild the night before. Keto had introduced himself with a big smile, not noticing how scared they were. Elaine, meanwhile, felt like her heart might stop. He'd grinned and told them to trust him. Their safety was guaranteed. All she managed was a tiny yes, while panicking inside. Even now, she still thinks hiring him may have been a huge mistake. When night comes, Keto says it's time to camp. He checks on the two of them and asks if they're doing all right. It's too dark to keep going, which is exactly why they left so late. Aaron nervously agrees while clinging to Elaine's arm. By now, Keto realizes people's fear of his kind runs deep. Then he reaches for a pouch to set up camp. He tosses out a magic item, and a full 10 appears at once. Aaron and Elaine just stare, shocked. An artifact? How does a barbarian have one? Keto blinks at the question. To him, it's no big deal. He earned it from clearing a bunch of requests. That casual answer only confuses them even more. He offers them the tent, but Elaine asks what he'll do. Keto brushes it off. Sleeping outside is normal for him. Then he says he'll stay up all night on guard, mentioning he once went a month being hunted by monsters without sleep. Seeing their reaction, he just smiles and tells them to rest easy. Elaine quickly insists they should also take turns keeping watch. She doesn't want him overdoing it. Keto tries to refuse, but they won't hear it. He thinks he's failing to win their trust, never realizing they're scared he'll kill them in their sleep. The next morning, Elaine crawls out of the tent looking awful. Aaron isn't any better. He looks half dead beside it. Elaine steps out holding her stomach, which growls loudly. Keto hears it. Hungry? Then he tells her to wait. He'll make something. Elaine just stares at him, completely confused. Then to her shock, This giant barbarian starts cooking like an expert. She can hardly believe it. A barbarian who cooks? Aaron, already drooling, blurts out and asks if he actually knows what he's doing. Ketil shrugs and says it's just a hobby. He remembers the snowfield where others ate monster meat raw, but he taught himself to make real meals instead. What started as survival turned into skill. The ingredients were so dangerous they nearly killed him, but after enough trial and error he mastered them. Now he proudly says he can cook anywhere. Compared to home, this is easy. Before long he serves them shrimp pasta that looks restaurant quality. Elaine panics. She quickly says she doesn't like greasy food and pulls out dried jerky instead. Aaron awkwardly does the same. Ketil doesn't mind, he just says that's too bad, and eats the pasta himself. Elaine watches, badly wanting some, but fear wins. She still can't trust food made by a barbarian. By the third night of their trip, Elaine is clearly in bad shape. She's in pain and her feet are badly red. Aaron rushes over in panic. "Princess, are you all right?" For 3 days now, he's been caring for a sick Elaine. Life as a sheltered princess didn't prepare her for travel like this. She finally wakes and gives him a weak smile, saying she's fine. Instead, she worries about him, pointing out that he must be exhausted from taking extra watch shifts. Aaron just smiles and says he's all right. He even jokes that old men don't need much sleep. Elaine gives him a grateful look, then passes out again. As he watches over her, Aaron's expression hardens. He sees her as family now and silently vows to protect her, even if he doesn't survive. The next morning, the smell of breakfast fills the camp. Aaron and Elaine sit there miserably, stuck with dry rations, while Ketil makes another amazing meal right in front of them. At last, Elaine snaps and jumps up, startling Aaron. She says she's stepping away for a bit, and Ketil bluntly asks if it's for the bathroom. He even apologizes, which completely throws Elaine off. You can see her trying to process it. Something about him doesn't match what she expected. Without another word, she walks off. Watching them, Ketil finally speaks up. He knows they don't trust him, but he's their escort. Holding out a perfectly cooked steak, he asks for at least a little faith. Then he adds that he's human too, and can get hurt. That hits harder than expected. Aaron immediately feels guilty. Flustered, he says he understands. Ketil then offers the food. It's venison. Will he eat it? Aaron is completely drawn in. One look at that steak and he's already lost. Meanwhile, Elaine has gone to a stream for a hoff by herself, trying not to cry as she forces down her dried jerky. She's starving, her legs hurt, and she's almost done. Still, she tries to hang on, telling herself Aaron must have it even worse. That noble thinking falls apart, though, when she looks through the bushes and spots Aaron happily eating the venison. To her, it's a total betrayal. Her most trusted knight, her protector, eating food from the enemy. She softly calls his name, crushed. Caught red-handed, Aaron drops his fork and blurts out, "Princess, this isn't what it looks like." Ketil just watches the whole scene with curious eyes. Elaine marches over and grabs Aaron. What part isn't true? We agreed to stay on guard around barbarians. Aaron tries to say that maybe, just maybe, Ketil isn't that bad. Elaine refuses to hear it. Then Ketil speaks up, looking at her in surprise. "So that's why you wouldn't touch my food." He pieces it together. The split night watch was for the same reason. "You didn't trust me either, huh?" The words hang there, and both of them realize they messed up. Ketil only sighs. He knows people hate his kind, and some barbarians probably earned that bad name. He also knows saying he's different won't help. Then he gets an idea. A sly smile spreads across his face. He looks at the two of them. "There's one thing you've got wrong." Then, still smiling, he drops the bomb. "I am not a barbarian." Just like that, Ketil starts explaining, and his clients are left speechless. He adds more drama. "To be exact, I was born one, but I wasn't raised that way." Aaron and Elaine just stand there trying to make sense of it. So Ketil spins a tragic story about his tribe being wiped out and a noble adventurer raising him, all while thinking with a straight face. I made every bit of that up, but it works. His main point is simple. He may have barbarian blood, but he was raised civilized. He acts completely sincere, but inside he knows it's all made up nonsense. Still, it's working. They both look deeply embarrassed. Elaine thinks back to how they treated him, all because of one label. She starts to think he's probably dealt with that bias his whole life, and yet he stayed kind to them. Full of shame, she gives a real apology and admits fear blinded her. Ketil answers with a soft smile. Inside, he's thinking, got them. While Aline is still processing it, he offers his hand. She looks confused for a second by the gesture, but takes it. With that, the tension breaks. Aline finally smiles at him. But nearby, a powerful figure is watching the Tower Master. Lich. He's using a spell to observe them, though he can't hear anything. Even so, he decides Kane was right. This barbarian really is strange. Kettle seems far more civilized than the others, so Lich moves in for a closer look. Big mistake. The second he shifts, Kettle's eyes sharpen. Lich freezes. Did he really notice me? Aline sees Kettle suddenly stop. He stares into the trees and says someone's there. Wait here. Before she can ask anything, he tells her he'll be right back. Then he kicks off the ground and closes the gap in an instant, appearing right above the stunned Leech. Panicking, Leech throws up a fire shield just as Kettle slams down on him. He's shocked. The barrier was supposed to be strong. But when the dust settles, Kettle is standing there without a scratch. Before Lich can react, Kettle drives his face into the dirt and warns him not to try anything stupid. The tough act vanishes at once. Lich blurts out the first thing he can think of. I admire you, Sir Kettle, leaving Kettle completely confused. After getting the man's fake name, Patrick, Kettle drags him back to camp like a misbehaving cat. Aline is totally confused, and Kettle just shrugs, no clue. He was sneaking around and then claimed he's my biggest fan. Dangling by his collar, Patrick starts rambling about how Kettle is his hero and role model. Of course, he's lying through his teeth. His thoughts make that clear. He only wants to get close to his target. Kettle doesn't believe a word of it. He can't let this so-called fan go unless he's sure the guy isn't a threat, and then he gets a terrible idea. Still holding the shady mage, he grins and says, this should work. Poor Lich is left staring, wondering what in the world is happening. Kettle's big idea? He ties him up, one of the strongest mages alive. Lich had prepared that whole Patrick disguise for his spy mission, and now the plan is stuck fast in rope. Kettle gives the knot one last hard pull, clearly proud of himself. Yep, that'll do. Then he turns and says, all right, let's go, dragging his captive along like a very confused dog. Patrick's face turns pale. He's being hauled through the woods like baggage, and his pride is taking a beating. He lets out a long sigh. This has never happened to him before. Still, there is one upside. He gets a close look at Kettle. As he's dragged along, he thinks back to a report from Swordmaster Kane. It described Kettle's insane speed and the raw strength to smash through magic with his fists. Even in this weaker human body, Patrick thinks he could handle a superhuman, so he starts wondering if Kettle is really hero class. At last, Aline speaks up. Lord Kettle, there's something I need to tell you. Kettle glances back, so you're finally ready to talk. Aline is surprised he already knew she was hiding something. The secret of night behavior gave it away. Kettle says it was obvious, and Aline looks completely caught. He says he understands why trusting him was hard, and Aline apologizes for real, ready to tell him everything. She even says he can walk away from the quest if the truth is too much for him. But just as she's about to explain, Kettle cuts in. Wait, someone's here. Right then, the nearby bushes rustle. Aline flinches. They aren't alone. Out of the brush come two knights in heavy armor. As more surround them, Kettle looks at Aline. Seems they're here for you. Aline freezes. The lead knight introduces himself as Captain Lucentio Edenheimer and greets her as Princess Aline of the Lucian Kingdom. On the side, the tied-up mage hears that and realizes this just became much more interesting. Captain Lucentio steps forward and says they've been searching everywhere. The king is worried, so please come with us. But instead of relief, Aline looks terrified. The captain then turns to Kettle and basically says, thanks for guarding the runaway princess, we'll handle things now. Aline answers with one word, no. Everyone is stunned, but she presses on. Who are you? Lucentio looks lost. Aline clenches her fist and demands again, who are you really? He starts to repeat his name, but she snaps, don't mock me. I know the real captain, and you're not him. She accuses the imposter of taking over the castle, replacing her friends and family, and demands to know what he did to her real parents. Meanwhile, Patrick makes tiny motions behind his back and uses magic to check the captain, only to find he's fully human. Aline keeps shouting, you want to eat me too and steal our kingdom, don't you? Tears run down her face, but her voice is firm. I won't let that happen. I'll avenge everyone who disappeared. The knight captain listens to all of it in silence, then lets out a heavy sigh. He turns to the others. You heard her. The princess is delusional. Aline explodes. Delusional. But he calmly tells her to think clearly. Is she really saying everyone changed except her? Could that even be true? For the first time, her certainty starts to break. He says she needs treatment right away and reaches out. Your Highness, let's end this and come with us. Cornered and with nowhere to turn, Aline's hope starts to collapse. She whispers, please, someone. And right then, a voice cuts in. What are you doing? Aline looks up and sees Kettle step between her and the knight. The captain glares and orders him aside, but Kettle just smirks. Sorry, can't do that. Aline can only stare, stunned. Lucentio glares harder and demands again that Kettle move. Kettle doesn't budge. Not happening. Lucentio's expression darkens. If you won't move, I'll use force. He charges without waiting, bringing his huge sword straight at Kettle's head, but Kettle stops it by grabbing his face. Then he casually throws the commander away. The other knights just stare in shock. Commander? Then they turn to Kettle and demand to know what he's doing. His answer is simple. He attacked first, and my job is to drive away threats to my employer. Nearby, Lucento struggles back up, holding his stomach, still reeling from the throw. Knowing strength won't work, he tries a different angle and insists the princess is delusional. Kettle shuts that down at once. You still don't get it. My job is to trust my employer. Elaine watches him, and for the first time in a while, hope returns to her eyes. With talking failed, Lucento growls that they're all insane. Kettle smiles back. That's not your call. Then he turns to Elaine, who looks confused. He points out that the knights showed up without any sign at all. She doesn't get it, so Kettle puts it simply. They appeared out of nowhere. That makes both Elaine and Patrick realize something is very wrong. Kettle faces the knights again. So how did you show up that suddenly? They say nothing. Lucentio tries to brush it off. Does that Lucentio cuts him off? Stop stalling and hand over the princess. Kettle narrows his eyes. When they refuse to answer, he says he'll take her to the kingdom of Dain to Varian himself. Her eyes fill with tears. Someone is finally on her side. Not even her own family ever believed her before. Lucento is done talking. His hand drops to his sword. He's ready to fight. Kettle calmly tells the others to stay back. Elaine trusts him now, but still begs him to be careful. These were the kingdom's strongest men, and Lucento orders them to draw their swords. Kettle only smiles, almost excited. From the side, Patrick checks their stats. The knights are second tier, and all of them can use mystic arts. Lucento, though, is first tier. Then the order comes. Bring down the barbarian, even if they have to kill him. The knights rush in together, boxing Kettle in with flashing blades. He doesn't move. Purple energy bursts out from him, and the battle starts for real. Kettle goes right on the attack, dropping them one after another with clean, brutal moves. A shockwave explodes from his body, and blasts several armored knights away. As they slam to the ground, Kettle casually says group attacks are annoying. Lucento snaps and yells for his men not to stop. All 6 attack at once, diving in from every side. It still doesn't work. Kettle turns into a storm, grabbing each knight the moment they come down and throwing them aside. At last, Lucento charges in himself, his sword glowing green as he roars for Kettle to die. Elaine cries out in fear, sure this is the end for the man protecting her. But when the blade drops, Kettle catches it with his teeth. Lucento just freezes, completely stunned. Then Kettle's eyes flash purple, and with one crunch, he breaks the enchanted sword apart. The impact sends Lucento flying back. Kettle stays where he is and asks if they still want more. The surviving knights are already on their knees, beaten, shaking. Lucento orders a retreat, and just like that they vanish. Kettle turns back to the others and tells Elaine he'll see this through. But first he wants the full truth. No more hiding things. She nods right away. While the others recover, Patrick is busy having a full mental breakdown. Segura was supposed to be unstoppable, and Kettle caught it with his teeth. Patrick can't get over it. This body isn't just tough. It can cancel all kinds of magic. Kettle is a complete mystery. Later, once they're gathered by the fire, Kettle finally asks for the whole story. Aaron's face hardens as he drops the truth. Their kingdom has been replaced. By the time he and the princess understood what was happening, it had already taken over everything. Kettle gets it at once, that's why they ran. Aaron says if they had stayed, they would have been replaced next. He explains that this strange problem began about a year ago, and that detail catches Kettle's attention. 1 year ago, the same timing the Inquisitor of Quaz mentioned. He remembers her warning the Demon Realm seal was leaking. Dungeons were appearing everywhere, and evil things started showing up all a year ago. That lines up too well to ignore. Even that strange guy from Kettle's last quest said something similar. He thought it was nonsense then, but maybe it wasn't. Eren goes on saying they never found where the distortion began. They called in strong mages and mystics for help, but every one of them got replaced too. Interested, Kettle asks how Eren could tell the fakes apart. Eren says he can't fully explain it, he just feels it. Something about the air around those people feels wrong. Even when they act normal, that twisted feeling never goes away. He didn't believe the princess at first either, not until impossible things started happening. Then Eren starts explaining how it began back when he managed the castle servants. He talks about a maid named Kathy, a shy girl who was terrified of almost everything, especially ghost stories. He used to tease her with scary stories all the time. Then one day, Kathy suddenly stopped reacting. No screams, no fear, nothing. At first, he thought she'd simply gotten over it. The real warning came later. Part of Kathy's work was cleaning the giant castle statues, and she hated it. One day, a huge stone statue fell on her. She should have died, but somehow she lived. The creepy part was her reaction. She wasn't scared at all, only worried she'd be punished for breaking it. That's when Eren knew the person before him wasn't the real Kathy. Kettle sums it up. Someone afraid of everything suddenly wasn't afraid of death. Very interesting. Eren says she looked the same, but the real Kathy was gone. After that, he started testing other people in the castle and found that most of them were fakes too. When Kettle asks if that's why they fled, Eren says yes. They knew they'd be next. So Kettle asks the obvious next question. Why go to Do Dien Tavarian? Elaine answers that only its king can perform something called a human declaration. She explains an old legend from the age when humans lived beside many other races. A man wanted a kingdom only for humans, so he made a deal with an unnamed god. That god gave him one power, the ability to tell what is human and what isn't. With that power, he built a kingdom that later became Dien Tavarian. Elaine says only that founder's bloodline can use the human declaration. Kettle smiles, so something like that exists. This world really doesn't get boring. He tells her the